Tienen pensado probablemente recortar la banca, pero a la vez que recortan la banca, ir comprando ellos títulos de la banca. Entonces no sabemos hasta dónde la van a recortar, pero sí lo que sí sabemos es que como ya han introducido un factor negativo en la banca, porque...
Bueno, pues interrumpimos esa entrevista de José Antonio Bisner que ha tenido lugar en el día de hoy a Alberto Iturralde para mostrarles en directo al presidente de Ucrania, Zelensky, que se encuentra en el día de hoy junto a su homólogo en Suecia. Vamos a escucharle, ¿qué dice?
For bilateral cooperation reasons, and we meet in Brussels tomorrow for European cooperation. That says something about the intensity of all the discussions and all the cooperation between Sweden and Ukraine. Just a couple of hours ago, I came directly from the Swedish Parliament ahead of the European Council meeting tomorrow, and I just want you to know that as in every democracy, we have quite often different opinions about many things in the Swedish Parliament, but not on Ukraine and not on the support for Ukraine. So in Sweden, we stand very united behind you and behind the Ukrainian people. I want you to convey that from the Swedish Parliament. Volodymyr, allow me first a few words in Swedish.
So, as you can hear, my voice is just perfect. Got a cold on Saturday anyway. So it's here we are in Saab in Linköping. This is no coincidence, where JAS Gripen is constructed, and the latest model, the Series E, which we can see behind us, was delivered to the Swedish Air Force just the other day for the first time. And Swedish engineers behind it, and with Swedish fighter aircraft, the Swedish people will become safer, but Gripen can also make the whole of Europe a safer place. President Zelensky and I have just signed a letter of intent. This is a letter of intent between Sweden and Ukraine, and this is the beginning of a long journey. And it will take us one step closer to a major export deal for Saab, for Sweden, together with Ukraine. This means great opportunities for the Air Force of Ukraine in the future, and also for Sweden and its defense industry, but also for a long-term industrial cooperation between Sweden and Ukraine. As you in here already know, and as President Zelensky knows better than anybody else, Sweden is one of the greatest military donors to Ukraine in absolute terms. We contribute with artillery, with aircraft, etc. And on the Air Force side, we're contributing with radar surveillance airplanes, C-890, those of you who are interested. And these are aircrafts which reinforce the ability in the older Western aircraft which are now operating in Ukraine. We also contribute with equipment and training. But it's also important, we are learning as well a great deal from Ukraine. And today we have in detail gone through a number of areas where Sweden has listened to the experience of Ukraine, military, civilian, taking that on board from Ukraine, showing that we can benefit from, but then we can also help Ukraine further with. Now, this letter of intent, agreement of intent, is something else. It is not aimed at any new donations at the moment. Instead, it is about a long-term cooperation when it comes to this type of cooperation, and the possibility of having a major deal between our two countries, probably between 100 and 150 Gripen aircraft model Series E, which is beginning to be produced now. And this is to build a very strong air force in Ukraine, and would then be part of the growing family using this unique, very flexible fighter system. And this agreement is a clear, mutual statement of will, and it is the beginning of a long journey for the next 10, 15 years, and this long-term ambition doesn't mean to say that we don't understand the great needs in place today to support Ukraine continued against Russia in the war of aggression. Now, for the last few years, Russia has aggressively attacked.
Bueno, pues escuchamos de momento al presidente de Suecia, a Kristersson, que está diciéndole a Zelensky que muestra que no tienen dudas del apoyo a Ucrania y a su pueblo, que Suecia sigue siendo uno de los países que más armamento y más ayuda está mostrando y está dando a Ucrania. Por lo tanto, sigue diciendo que hay que estar todos unidos para defender a Ucrania. Vamos a seguir escuchándole.
The free world must now increase political, financial, military pressure on President Putin to put an end to this brutal war. From today, we're going to continue working together with Sweden and Ukraine and other partners as well. We're going to work very hard to try to look at different possibilities for long-term funding of Ukraine defense capabilities. And the point of departure is good, let me say. We're all in agreement that a strong Ukraine with a strong defense in place, this is the best long-term protection, not just for Ukraine, but also for all other European nations. And our ability to protect our airspace is, of course, of decisive importance. One important step in this direction may be taken already tomorrow when the question about frozen Russian assets is going to be discussed once again at the European Council. And it's no coincidence that later this evening we are both flying down to Brussels. Now, even after the war, a long-term funding will be required for the reconstruction of Ukraine and also for their military defense systems. And this issue is naturally also decisive as regards the preconditions for the deal that we are now signing this agreement about. Lastly, Sweden has a proud history of being a world leader when it comes to fighter aircraft. The older generations told us about J-29, J-22, the Lancet, G-35, the Dragon, J-77 Viggen, and now JAS-39 Gripen. This is a unique history and background of our capabilities that we have built up in this country. Few NATO countries have this capacity. And the new aircraft that you can see behind me and President Zelensky right now is not just a source of pride for us in Sweden and for Linköping. It is also part of the unique Swedish ability that may help support the security of Sweden, of Ukraine, of Europe. And this is what it's really all about.
The step we're taking today through this Swedish-Ukrainian letter of intent creates the necessary preconditions for a major export deal on the Gripen fighters between our two countries. If we succeed, it will contribute to increased security in our part of the world and will strengthen both Ukraine and Sweden. We fully realize it's a long road ahead of us. But from today, we are committed to exploring all the possibilities in providing Ukraine with a large amount of Gripen fighters in the future. And with that, over to you, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ulf. Thank you very much for having us and for your support, for everything. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Dear guests, dear Ulf, dear teams, ministers, dear Sweden, today we are opening a truly new and highly meaningful chapter in our relations between Ukraine and Sweden, and more broadly in Europe's overall security relations. Today we have the first document between our countries that opens the path for Ukraine to obtain a serious fleet, a very serious fleet of Swedish-made fighter jets, Gripens. Yes, these are excellent aircraft, strong aviation platforms, capable of carrying out a wide range of missions. And everyone sees what threats this helps protect against. Russian attacks against our state do not cease, and last night the Russians carried out yet another massive attack against our energy, against our cities, and unfortunately there are fatalities, and among them 2 children, and the youngest child wasn't even a 1-year-old. My condolences to the bereaved family. Last night alone, dozens of people were wounded by hits of Russian missiles and drones. In many regions, unfortunately, there are restrictions on the supply of energy, electricity. In the city of Kharkiv, Russian drones hit a kindergarten. Along the whole contact line with Russian forces, in our front line and border communities, they get hit by hundreds of glide bombs every day, and the Russians can hit us with them solely because they have an advantage in combat aircraft over us, which is why our strategy of defense is a multi-layered defense, which
Escuchábamos a Zelensky hablando del acuerdo que va a tener, eso sí, con Suecia para aeronaves, para tener mejores aviones Ucrania para defender el espacio aéreo. Es lo que decía. Aparte de eso, decía que están abriendo un nuevo capítulo en el mundo con este importante acuerdo con Suecia. Por otra parte, también el presidente sueco hacía que habrá tras la guerra una financiación para la reconstrucción de Ucrania y decía que van a buscar nuevas capacidades de defensa para Ucrania y sobre todo para la Unión Europea para defender su espacio aéreo. Vamos a seguir escuchando.
A process. We clearly understand the financial grounding to implement this contract, which is important for us. We have discussed this with Mr. Prime Minister, with the leadership of Saab company. I'm grateful to Sweden for the readiness to cooperate on this. We appreciate our gratitude to the company Saab, which manufactures Gripen, and the company at whose facility we held today's talks. That's an honor for us. The next year we must do everything to get first real results, to do everything so that the procedures can be finalized in the near future. Procedures always take time, but nonetheless we must do everything to fill our framework agreement with full substantivity. Ukraine has already proven that it can accomplish such tasks quite fast, to train pilots, to train technical crews, to prepare the infrastructure, and now our teams must do everything so that the next year becomes the time of the more substantial implementation of our agreements, the start of usage of Gripens. Of course, we have also discussed other key issues, the energy. I have informed about Mr. Prime Minister about our main needs after Russian attacks. We have spoken about the recovery possibilities, in particular about searching the finances to have a volume of natural gas which will be sufficient for winter. The Russians are targeting our gas production, which is why import has a great meaning. We have also coordinated our positions ahead of the meetings in Brussels and in London, the European Council and the Coalition of the Willing. I have informed Ulf about our communication with America and other partners. The fact of the matter is that Russia only responds to strength of pressure, which is why we brought up the topic of long-range capabilities, i.e. Tomahawks, in our agenda with partners. As soon as Russia heard about Tomahawks, in sufficiently persuasive way, putting Rash to turn back to diplomacy. Now Russia's desire for diplomacy has faded somewhat, and it is our long-range capabilities that can put Russia to the table in a way to truly end this war. We've discussed the situation with air defense. I think every partner who has joined the Pearl initiative, which allows us to procure American weapons, in particular, and that's a priority, missiles for Patriots. Sweden is a member of the initiative, and I'm grateful for that. Another important direction for us and for European security overall is sanctions. We are counting on the adoption of 19th sanctions package, and this truly must stop being postponed. Also, one of the things that will truly influence the situation will be a usage of Russian frozen assets to defend against Russian aggression. We are preparing corresponding decisions. This is very much needed, and we very much count on the solidarity and support from Europe. Ukraine never wanted this war. Everybody knows that. The war that Russia launched against us, only Russia.
Bueno, pues vamos a seguir escuchando en breves momentos al presidente de Ucrania, a Zelensky, que eso sí, está hablando con el presidente, con su homólogo de Suecia en ese acto. Pero de momento vamos a mirar a la apertura de los mercados, sobre todo a Wall Street, que abre en el día de hoy. Sergio, muy buenas.
Muy buenas, Enrique. Muy pendiente de esta tercera sesión de la semana en Wall Street. Ayer con fuertes caídas en el oro, con la mirada puesta a las tecnológicas. Por ejemplo, Netflix, que presentaba resultados. Están sonando ahora mismo las campanas en el NYSE, en el New York Stock Exchange, a la espera de estas tensiones comerciales entre China y Estados Unidos, también a la espera de lo que suceda con esta reunión entre Donald Trump y Vladimir Putin. Ahora sí, suenan las campanas en el NYSE, comienza la tercera sesión de la semana en Wall Street, pendientes de este rescate financiero de Estados Unidos a Argentina, de estas reuniones entre Estados Unidos y China. Hoy vamos al oro bastante más relajado, lo estaban viendo ahora. Vamos a ver los principales índices en Wall Street. Vemos al S&P 500 que está prácticamente plano, 0,03% bajo hasta los 6.733 enteros. Apertura con tono mixto, con las bolsas bastante relajadas en estos momentos. El Nasdaq, el tecnológico, es el que está marcando la pauta durante toda la semana. Viene igual, prácticamente plano, cediendo muy poquito, un 0,06% hasta los 25.127 enteros. También caídas para el Dow Jones muy ligeras, 0,11% hasta los 46.876 puntos. Estaban viendo también al principio el Russell 2000. Vamos a ver cómo están los índices. Vemos el Russell también cayendo un poquito, un 0,12% hasta los 2.484 enteros. La volatilidad es, sin duda, una de las pautas que marcan cómo se lo toman los inversores, si hay miedo o no. De momento está subiendo un poquito, un 2,18% hasta los 18,27. El oro, les decíamos, ayer era protagonista, caía más de un 5%. Veíamos desplome entre los principales metales preciosos. Hoy caídas algo más moderadas, 1,70%. Ojo, porque puede perder incluso los $4.000 por cada onza. Ahora mismo cotizan 4.053. La plata también cayendo en el día de hoy, reduciendo sus pérdidas. Ayer caía en torno al 7, el 8%, hoy 0,99% abajo. Ahora ya cayendo más de un punto porcentual hasta los $48,17 por cada onza. Hoy pendientes de resultados, pendientes también de esta apertura plana en Wall Street. Los metales preciosos siguen cayendo, pero un poquito menos. Quique, una sesión de momento plana. Hay incertidumbre sobre todo en lo que pueda pasar con Donald Trump. Ayer decía que no sabe si va a reunirse con Xi Jinping.
Bueno, pues veremos qué pasa y cómo van cambiando los mercados. Los analizaremos como siempre aquí en Negocios Televisión. Nosotros que vamos a volver a poner el foco en Zelensky, quien está hablando, eso sí, de la importancia de Europa hacia su país, el apoyo que está recibiendo Ucrania. Vamos a seguir escuchándolo.
It's not about kilometers, it's about homes of our people, about our history, our identity, it's our territorial integrity. So we're ready for diplomacy, but as I have told the President of the United States of America, the issue is that we do not see the readiness of Russia and all these diplomatic efforts that it demonstrates with their calls and meetings are aimed at delaying strong decisions of America and Europe, like introducing sanctions, like postponing diplomacy, to delay the transfer or the purchase of Tomahawks. So they just delay the decisions that constitute part of the pressure on Russia. When Russia is ready for diplomacy, you will see that.
TV4. Sorry, President Zelensky. Why did you choose Gripen? And could you say something in English as well about the peace process?
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Why Gripens? So we know about your jets a lot. I'm not sure that everything, of course, only Sweden knows everything, but a lot. We can compare with other platforms. And we use now jets different from the jets what have been produced during Soviet period of time, and also F-16s, not Block 50 plus, I mean not young, not new generations, and etc. But in any way, we are thankful for everything what we use and what has been delivered to Ukraine to support us. But if you look strategically on your air fleet, and we understand that there are the best three platforms, Gripen, F, and Rafales, and I don't want to open all the things, all our steps, what we need and what we'll do, but for our army, this is a priority. Gripens are the priority. That's why it's chosen by us. It's about money. It's about how it's maneuvered, and it's about how to use it, and it's also about our country. And between us, we understand with whom we fight. And Gripens are one of the best in the world.
And about the peace process?
What about the peace process? What do you want to hear?
Yeah, what do you think about it?
What I think about it? No, we don't have enough pressure on Russians, and to make a pressure. By the way, the levers and contracts, and today's decisions about ARGS, all these details of pressure on Russia, because it's all about strengthening Ukraine and Ukrainian people and army, and not enough pressure on Russia. We need the decision on frozen assets, difficult decisions. It's a pity, and I hope that tomorrow we will have a chance. But we understand that it's not a simple decision. Russia will do everything not to give us possibility to have such decision. Is to use money, because they understand that they need to decrease financing of Ukraine during the war. How to decrease? First, to divide USA and EU, then to divide EU, and they've been quite successful in some steps with some countries, you know. But God bless, strong countries in EU, strong countries are together, and this is very good. So that's why they want to decrease financing, and the frozen assets. It's a decision how not to lose these important funds for Ukrainian security. Then program Pearl is important. Also, we know that Russia works with some European countries. It pushes them not to deliver to this program. And this program, especially for the United States, PAC-3, mostly PAC-3, because we need missiles, especially during the winter, especially for Patriot systems, which we don't have in Europe. And that's it. So, and also there are strong steps on the battlefield. Russia's pushing disinformation in media, mostly in the United States today, also in Europe, that they win this war, that they are winning. But it's not true. They have losses, more than 1 million people, 1,300,000. Yes, that's it. So and their economy is decreasing. And of course, they are a rich country, and of course, they have a lot of money and funds and energy and etc. So sanctions on energy, this is also, but total sanctions, without games, real sanctions. So all these things will pressure them, and they will sit and speak.
I very much agree on the frozen assets, and I think that was going to be one of the most important discussions for tomorrow. And I also very much agree that Russia will do anything they can to obstruct those decisions, because they would mean a game-changing difference if they were to be released, those assets. So don't underestimate the Russian efforts to obstruct, to make countries believe it's dangerous, or to believe in threats, but we will do everything we can. We had a good step forwards last time. I hope we will have another step tomorrow.
If I can, sorry.
Please.
I don't know the rules. I mean, we can't speak.
We set the rules.
Okay. So, I mean, it's very important signal to all Europeans. Don't be afraid of Russia with decision of frozen assets to some of these countries, because mostly they are on the right side of history, and I hope that they will not be afraid. Because if we have such unity as EU, Europe widely, with Ukraine, with UK, you are stronger than Russia. Yeah, that's why don't be afraid. It will help a lot.
Thank you. Diane?
Hello, Pia Gripenberg, Swedish Daily Dagens Nyheter. Sorry for not speaking Ukrainian. This letter of intent is for the future. If you see in the short run.
Pues escuchábamos a Zelensky decir que cuando Rusia se enteró de que se le iba a enviar de parte de los Estados Unidos los misiles Tomahawk, volvió Rusia al camino de la diplomacia. Además, también Zelensky decía, eso sí, que la gran mayoría de los países europeos están en la parte correcta de la historia y que espera que mañana, bueno, pues tenga la oportunidad de aprobarse los activos congelados hacia los rusos. Por su parte, su homólogo sueco decía, eso sí, que no hay que subestimar la fuerza de Rusia, porque Rusia hará todo lo posible para evitar los activos congelados. Vamos a seguir escuchando la rueda de prensa.
But we understand on what we can estimate, on what we can count. So, and I will not share now details of our estimation, but our teams will work on it. Of course, for us, this is important question. The second point about the plan of Europeans, there are propositions like from France, from some Europeans, and I think we understand each other, and some European countries really very helpful with it. They want to put their point of view, how it's not like a plan how to totally stop the war. It's a plan mostly about plan of ceasefire. And I know some steps of it, but we are really, we have to discuss it. It's not done. Yes, we have to discuss it. There are some propositions, and I'm very welcome when our real friends, strategic friends, and then when they propose their help, not just by the words, by steps, militarily, humanitarily, or such way diplomatically.
Thank you. TT?
Prime Minister Zelensky, first of all, I'd like to ask you, would you say that you're more or less optimistic that you will find a peace solution comparing to 1 year ago? And secondly, Ulf Kristersson, can you please elaborate a little bit on the financial solution here? You talked about a little bit about the frozen assets and so on, and but how much of a help would that be?
I'm more positive than 9 months ago. I think we made a lot of work. I think our relations with the United States moved to the right side. Thank you.
To state, but just to state the obvious, I mean, if you want to make a big Gripen deal with Ukraine on the scale of 100 plus fighters, it's the obvious question is on finance, of course, no doubt about that. I was very transparent on that. But I do think there is a momentum right now. Don't over-exaggerate the frozen asset, but it's one sign. Also the realization among the coalition of the willing countries that in the long-term security guarantees for Ukraine is a strong Ukraine. The long-term security guarantees for the rest of Europe is a strong Ukraine collaborating with Europe. So there is a full realization that we need to be part of that build-up. And then, of course, we should unite on all these extremely important details. That's why I said this is a long way to go, but we have a clear idea on where to end that road.
Thank you. Aftonbladet.
Victor Stenqvist, Aftonbladet. Mr. President, two questions. Firstly, what was your reaction to the cancellation of the meeting between Putin and Trump? And secondly, if Putin can't be stopped in Ukraine, what risks do you see in the future for Sweden?
Europe will have risks. I don't know. I think Sweden is a very important part for EU, strong part, important part, and of course, if one of the European countries, of EU countries, is in risk, I think that the security of Europe is in risks. So that's it. I think that. I said about it, if we will not stop Putin, if we will not have a plan how to have a peace, so if we will not have minimum of this ceasefire, with understanding what to do next steps, so Putin can try to open new front somewhere, because for him Ukraine is very difficult. I'm not comparing our security or our military capability with other countries. No. I'm not trying to do it. I'm just say that we are in war so many years, and that's why I think other countries are not ready for such thing. It's like we've been at the very beginning of the war. It's understandable. So it's difficult to prepare for the war. It's not true that somebody can really prepare for the war, totally prepare, because psychologically, the most important, it's about people. Who is ready for the war? Who wants war? Normal people don't want. And it's understandable why. Because you are adequate people. Well, that's it. You don't want losses. Don't want to lose your family. And that's why I'm sure that the most important strong society, but I think society is difficult again to prepare society for the war. And God bless that other countries will not do it. And that's why he will find, I think, he can think about other country, one or another, but not very big, because it's difficult. Because it's difficult not only to occupy the part, it's very difficult to hold. Ukrainian territory is big, one of the reasons. So yes, our people, yes, we belong in war, but our territory is big. That's why you need too much people to hold it, even after you occupied it, temporarily occupied it. You have to hold. You need more soldiers, and it's very expensive. And so a lot of details about it. I mean, that we can speak about it, yes, with details, but we need too much time for this discussion. That's why I think risks have, first of all, small countries. This is my opinion. And for Putin, doesn't matter. They are in NATO, in EU, or not.
Thank you. And then we have the last question from Sveriges Radio.
Panie prezydent, мене питання, але
Mr. President,
this is a question to both of you. As Ulf Kristersson says, this is a very urgent situation, but we can do things in the here and now. We can send old airplanes, as it were, that we have in Sweden. Is this a question that you have discussed at all? And in that case, when could Ukraine receive planes that we are not using at the moment? But we have said oftentimes, in fact, that we are part of this coalition discussing defense in Ukraine, and we haven't. We know, in fact, that that there are Gripen aircraft that Sweden isn't using, and we sent, in fact, an agreement to radar surveillance aircraft to Ukraine. That was the best thing that we could do at that time, that these F-16 aircraft operating in Ukraine at the moment, that they also had greater capacity through the radar ability that we can offer, instead of at the same time introducing 2 new small-scale fighter systems in Ukraine. But this is something that can change. Of course, we haven't changed that assessment at the moment. At the moment, we're fully occupied with, in fact, introducing the radar surveillance for those fighter jets. Thank you.
Last question. Ja, Julia från SVT. Jag har en fråga om den här.
I have a question with regard to this letter of intent presented here today. What does that entail in practice? So when can you start selling these aircraft to Ukraine? And for the production here in Linköping at Saab here in Linköping, what does that mean to them? That's a very important question. The first thing that we need to do now is to look together at all possibilities that we can find for financing for the long term for Ukraine. This was already ongoing, and together with the reconstruction of Ukraine as well, and there the discussion about the frozen assets is a very important part. Now, we're talking about the latest generation that was introduced just the other day here in Sweden. Now, that production capacity is just being established at the moment. So in practice, we're talking about within 3 years. That's when we can start delivering. And then, of course, you don't deliver 150 aircraft all in one go. This is a long-term process, which means that we're talking about what we're talking about, the financing. We're talking not just sort of one small short period of time. This is a long period of a process. So, well, we're talking anyway about within the next 3 years for the first possible delivery that's possible. And I'm saying that, I'm not saying, I'd like to underline that this isn't something that is done in the here and now. I just like to say, but we are just showing what our will, our desire, and this is how all major projects start. In fact, to be honest, I mean, if everything had, been done and dusted, then of course we would have been too late.
If I can, we are truly interested in serious co-production with Saab company. We want to produce drones. We are very interested in that. We are open for cooperation with Sweden. We have excellent relationship, and there is experience that we have because of the war, and we have the best or one of the best drones in the world, and we'll scale that up among other things in partnership with Sweden. This is what we've discussed with Mr. Prime Minister, with Sweden and with Saab company. The second thing about Gripen, finances are a very important issue. There are aircraft, and we'll be talking about that further. There are Gripen, new generation Gripen, so we very much count on the quantity that we've discussed, no fewer than 100 aircraft. And we will also be talking about the possibility to use other aircraft which are not state-of-the-art to expedite this in a certain way. So we'll also speak about deliveries here. We'll also be talking about training of our pilots, which is also important. But the main thing that we have as of today, we very much wanted to have a political decision to provide a possibility for Ukraine to purchase Gripens and to build a modern air fleet, and this opportunity is open today. We have a politically positive decision. We are grateful to Sweden for this. Thank you all for this, and to all of your team.
Now, let me just say, President Zelensky, we are learning a great deal from President Zelensky. Drones were mentioned, civilian defense, all this, the will to defend, all of this. These are things that we have learned from Ukraine over the years. So let's not underestimate this. And it's not a corporate secret, as it were, that, we are really trying to, cooperate on a broader front between the Swedish defense corporations and Ukraine. And this is also important to underline.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks again. Thank you. It's a beauty.
It's great.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bueno, pues termina ese acto entre el presidente de Ucrania, Zelensky, y su homólogo sueco, en el que Zelensky ha reiterado y ha dicho que Europa tendrá riesgos si el ataque ruso no logra ser parado en Ucrania. Después también decía Zelensky que hay países que no están preparados actualmente para la guerra, como sí lo está Ucrania, pero que Ucrania no lo estaba al principio, que es precisamente porque no hay guerra en esos países, por lo tanto costaría que esos países se prepararan. Y por último, eso sí, decía que para Putin no importa que un país esté o no en la OTAN o incluso en la Unión Europea, porque Putin quiere, eso sí, atacar a otros países, que le da igual dónde o a qué organización o a qué pertenezcan. Bueno, pues aparte de eso también decía Zelensky que Ucrania está interesada en la producción conjunta de drones con Suecia. Bueno, pues era lo que decía el presidente ucraniano. Nosotros que vamos a ver cómo se encuentran en los mercados de las principales criptomonedas a esta hora de la tarde. Vamos a ver cómo se encuentran. Por ejemplo, Bitcoin está en bajada, una ligera bajada del 0,30%. Y tiene un valor actual de $108.324. Ethereum tiene una bajada del 0,19%. Y un valor actual de $3.857. BNB Price, que tiene una subida del 0,65% y un valor de $1.078. XRP, una bajada ligera del 0,50%, pero tiene un valor actual de $2,40. Solana, una subida ligera del 0,13% y un valor actual de $185. Después miramos a Tron, que está en descenso en un 0,57% y tiene un valor actual de $0,32. Dogecoin también en bajada, un poquito más que el resto de las principales criptomonedas, con 1,89% en bajada y tiene un valor actual de $0,19. Y por último, pero no menos importante, como siempre, Cardano, que también está en bajada en un 1,27% y tiene un valor actual de $0,63. Por lo tanto, así se encuentran las principales criptomonedas a esta hora de la tarde. Nosotros que vamos a hacer un alto en el camino, una pequeña pausa publicitaria, pero no se muevan porque enseguida llega Todo Geopolítica con Sergio Fernández.
¿Te preocupa que tu inquilino no pague el alquiler? Sabemos que esto puede ser un desafío. Aunque los gastos son fáciles de calcular, el verdadero reto es gestionar la falta de pago por parte del inquilino. SEAC te ofrece una garantía de renta asegurada hasta que recuperes tu vivienda, pase el tiempo que pase. Relájate. SEAC se encarga de todo. Alquila tranquilo. SEAC responde.
Saltas al vacío pensando que no tienes red. Los problemas del negocio se confunden con los de tu vocación. Y necesitas liberarte de las preocupaciones del día a día. De las nóminas, las hipotecas, los alquileres, seguros, declaraciones. De pelear con todos y con todo. Aquí hay un banco que piensa en ti, que te entiende mejor que nadie y que te acompaña para que te dediques plenamente a aquello para lo que has nacido. Es Arquia Banca, el banco de los profesionales. Respira.
¡Pum! ¡Al mercado! Aquí hay alguien que se ha llevado un dinerico por en medio. Cuidado, que el mercado ayer estaba en los mundos de Yuppie.
Estáis haciendo un trabajo extraordinario.
Nos dijeron todo eso. Es decir, nos mintieron a la cara.
Vamos, que yo creo que ni en tiempos del Imperio Romano habíamos visto algo semejante.
Lo que se podía esperar alrededor de los aranceles es peor. No iba en broma. Que siempre que pase algo puedas poner negocios televisión.
Van a poder seguir manteniendo su monopolio.
El mercado se desploma por el movimiento, por la guerra arancelaria. ¡Entra Trump!
Pero por favor, si lo que hace falta es estabilidad.
Tú quieras estar al otro lado de la pantalla en lugar de en otros medios en negocios televisión.
Y además se nota que no estáis subvencionados porque sois absolutamente objetivos e independientes.
¿Puede privatizarse la democracia? Quizá es esa la pregunta que nos tenemos que hacer todos. Un globalismo que afecta a todo lo que sustenta nuestras vidas. Realidad económica tangible, necesaria de analizar. Esa necesidad de analizar el globalismo desde el punto de vista absolutamente económico, tangible y real.
Buenos días, 8 de la mañana, ¿han desayunado bien?
Si estás viendo esta cadena es que te gusta estar bien informado y te gustan mucho los mercados financieros.
No, pero no critiquéis. Aquí vemos todo lo contrario.
Os oía todos los días.
Esto lo hacen estupendamente. Es un cachondeo. Pero lo que está claro es que ahora mismo...
Traéis a invitados excepcionales.
Good afternoon, Cathy Booth.
Muy buenas tardes, bienvenidos un día más a Todos Geopolítica, bienvenidos al programa en el que les contamos, repasamos y analizamos todo lo que está pasando en el tablero geopolítico, pendientes de la cumbre entre Donald Trump y Vladimir Putin, si se congela o no, cuál es la respuesta por parte del Kremlin. Vamos a contarles la última hora, las primeras imágenes de los ejercicios nucleares, los ejercicios con armas nucleares a gran escala por parte de Rusia. Vamos a contarles también la propuesta de Europa y de Ucrania, hablando de un plan de 12 puntos para solucionar este conflicto. Miraremos también a la tensión en Oriente Medio, pero como les decimos, vamos a empezar con las últimas horas. Estas son las primeras imágenes del ejercicio con armas nucleares de Rusia. Y es que, como les decimos, Moscú ha realizado ejercicios a gran escala de su triada nuclear este miércoles, probando las fuerzas estratégicas del país en tierra, mar y aire. El presidente ruso, Vladimir Putin, supervisó personalmente el entrenamiento de las fuerzas nucleares, según un comunicado del Kremlin. Dice literalmente que bajo la dirección del comandante jefe supremo de las Fuerzas Armadas de la Federación Rusa se llevó a cabo un ejercicio de entrenamiento de las fuerzas nucleares estratégicas con la participación de sus componentes terrestres, navales y aéreos, es lo que se lee en el comunicado. Durante el ejercicio se realizaron lanzamientos prácticos, lo están viendo ahora mismo, de misiles balísticos intercontinentales y misiles de crucero lanzados desde el aire. Se lanzó un misil balístico intercontinental, el JARS, desde el cosmódromo estatal de pruebas de Plesetsk, que impactó en el polígono de pruebas de Kura, en la península de Kamchatka. Se lanzó un misil balístico sin EVA desde el submarino nuclear estratégico Briansk en el mar de Barents. El avión de largo alcance Tupolev Tu-95MS también participó en este ejercicio, realizando lanzamientos de misiles de crucero desde el aire, según el comunicado. La gestión de los lanzamientos prácticos se llevó a cabo desde el Centro de Gestión de la Defensa Nacional de la Federación Rusa. Este ejercicio evaluó la competencia de los órganos de mando militar y las habilidades prácticas del personal operativo en la organización del mando y control de las fuerzas subordinadas. Dice además que se cumplieron todos los objetivos del ejercicio del entrenamiento. Las armas estratégicas se refieren en términos generales al armamento principal de las Fuerzas Armadas rusas, centrando en armas nucleares estratégicas y tácticas, conocidas a menudo como la triada nuclear. Estas incluyen misiles terrestres, misiles balísticos lanzados desde submarinos y bombarderos estratégicos. Todo esto en un día marcado por la reunión entre Donald Trump y Vladimir Putin. La Casa Blanca confirmaba este martes que el encuentro entre el presidente de Estados Unidos y su homólogo ruso en Budapest no tendrá lugar en un futuro inmediato. Escuchamos el mensaje de Donald Trump. Dice que no quiere perder el tiempo.
I have a wasted meeting. I don't want to have a waste of time, so I'll see what happens. But we did all of these great deals, great peace deals. They're all peace deals, agreements, solid agreements, every one of them. But this one, and I said, go to the line of battle, on the battlefield lines, and you pull back and you go home, and everybody take some time off, because you got two countries that are killing each other. Two countries that are losing 5,000 to 7,000 soldiers a week. So we'll see what happens. It's we haven't made a determination.
Asking the Justice Department to look into the federal investigations into you and look for compensation and how much.
On Ukraine, do you still see a chance for a ceasefire? And what is Putin asking for? Do you still see a chance for a ceasefire? And what is Putin asking for?
I do. It's a vicious look. It's a vicious war. It doesn't really affect us. We sell equipment to them. We sell equipment to NATO. and NATO gives it to Ukraine, but we don't pay anything anymore. Biden spent $350 billion.
Mientras tanto, las naciones europeas están trabajando con Ucrania en una propuesta de 12 puntos para poner fin a la guerra rusa, según las líneas de batalla actuales, respondiendo a las renovadas demandas de Volodymyr Putin a Estados Unidos para que Ucrania entregue territorio a cambio de un acuerdo de paz. Las propuestas prevén el retorno de los niños a Ucrania, el intercambio de prisioneros y que Ucrania reciba garantías de seguridad, fondos para reparar los daños de la guerra y una vía para unirse rápidamente a la Unión Europea. Las sanciones a Rusia se levantarían gradualmente, aunque unos 300.000 millones en reservas congeladas del Banco Central solo se devolverían una vez que Moscú acepte contribuir a la reconstrucción de Ucrania tras la guerra. Pendientes de todas las últimas horas, mirando estos ejercicios nucleares de Rusia, esta reunión entre Trump y Putin que parece congelarse. Nosotros vamos ya con los expertos, vamos ya con el análisis y en el día de hoy contamos con José Luis Orella. Él es profesor, historiador de Historia Contemporánea en la Universidad CEU San Pablo. ¿Qué tal, José Luis? Muy buenas tardes.
Muy buenas tardes, un placer de estar con vosotros.
Tenemos también a Cristian López, analista de política internacional. ¿Qué tal, Cristian? Muy buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes y buenos días desde México.
Y contamos con Jesús López Almejo, miembro del Sistema Nacional de Investigadores de CONACYT en México. ¿Qué tal? Muy buenas, Jesús.
Hola Sergio, buen día. Gracias por la invitación.
Encantados de teneros a los tres de nuevo por aquí en un día de muchísima actualidad, un día en el que estamos muy pendientes de lo que suceda con esta cumbre entre Putin y Trump, con el avión del presidente ruso, pero de momento lo que sabemos es que se congela la reunión y Rusia está lanzando un mensaje muy claro. Jesús, si te parece, empezamos contigo. ¿Qué te parecen estos ejercicios con armas nucleares que podían ver hace unos segundos nuestros espectadores?
Sí, mira, definitivamente estamos en el juego de donde ahora predomina una visión de suma cero, en donde lo que gana uno, el otro lo pierde. Algo así como regresar un poco a las dinámicas ideológicas de la Guerra Fría, en donde ya los actores enfrentados están tomando posiciones maximalistas. Europa, por ejemplo, revisando las condiciones que le quiere imponer a Rusia, pareciera que Europa va ganando la guerra y pareciera que hay botas europeas en el territorio ucraniano, directamente como si hubiera tropas alemanas, tropas italianas, tropas españolas o británicas o polacas y que tienen las condiciones sobre el campo de batalla para decirle a Rusia, tienes que aceptar incluso la devolución de Crimea, tienes que pagar las compensaciones por los daños de la guerra, algo así de lo que ni remotamente le han exigido a Israel por las destrucciones del 93% de la infraestructura de Gaza. Pero en el caso de Rusia le quieren imponer algo en la mesa de negociaciones, que en realidad no sería negociación sino una imposición. Sin embargo, hay dos factores, Sergio, que me parece que le hacen imposible a Europa materializar este punto. Y digo Europa porque Donald Trump astutamente, al saber que es imposible derrotar a Rusia en el campo de batalla, ha empezado a usar una narrativa de intermediario, como si Estados Unidos nada tuviera que ver, como si Estados Unidos no fuera el jefe de la OTAN y como si Europa no hiciera lo que Estados Unidos quiere. Entonces me concentro en Europa porque el discurso más beligerante contra Rusia lo han adaptado Kaja Kallas, Ursula von der Leyen, Friedrich Merz, el mismo Starmer y Pedro Sánchez. Y esto aquí quiero ser muy consistente en algo, que es el segundo punto que estaba explicando. A Europa, a los líderes europeos contemporáneos, les hace falta algo que es muy importante para cerrar cualquier negociación y que sus pueblos estén dispuestos a respaldarles, que es legitimidad. Mira los niveles de aprobación de cada líder europeo. Pedro Sánchez, por ejemplo, no me dejarán mentir, ahí en España, en enero registró su peor caída histórica con los escándalos de corrupción, pero también con la percepción de que es un gobierno que está arrebatándoles las políticas centradas en la sociedad, el estado de bienestar. Por más que Pedro Sánchez intenta decir en España tenemos un estado de bienestar sólido con respecto a otros hermanos europeos, pero la gente percibe que la vivienda cada vez se va más de las manos a pesar de ciertas regulaciones maquilladas, el tema de la vivienda, el tema de la renta y sobre todo cada vez más el tema de la salubridad, seguridad de salud, que era muy importante para los españoles y un hito de orgullo, pues cada vez lo ven más desmejorado, por decirlo de alguna manera. Keir Starmer tiene peores niveles de aceptación, de aprobación de su mandato que el mismísimo Rishi Sunak, que era súper impopular y que era más impopular incluso Boris Johnson. Bueno, pues hoy Keir Starmer, como izquierdista, como laborista, ha resultado toda una decepción en el Reino Unido. Creo que apenas tiene el 22% de aprobación. Lo vemos en el caso de Macron, 4 o 5 primeros ministros. Si asumimos que Le dieron una segunda que sería, digamos, 2 en 1. Entonces, una crisis de inestabilidad política brutal ahí en Francia y un Macron que se va en 2027 sí o sí, que no ha tenido, digamos, los tamaños para renunciar. Y luego, ¿qué decir de Friedrich Merz? Que si creíamos que Scholz era impopular, y a Scholz lo sacaron porque precisamente ni siquiera alcanzó a cumplir su 4º año de gobierno por la impopularidad ante el golpazo tremendo a la economía alemana, y Merz viene peor, viene, digamos, todavía más confrontativo, que no han entendido, pues, por dónde va la jugada. No tienen, para empezar, ni la legitimidad en el respaldo de sus propios pueblos para impulsar nada, y mucho menos que Rusia les pare bola, como dicen en Colombia, o que les ponga atención, porque en el campo de batalla, pues el que sigue avanzando es Rusia, más lento de lo que la propia Rusia quisiera o pudiera, pero es consistente. Putin me anuncia que nada más en 2025 han tomado ya 5,000 kilómetros cuadrados, y el bastión de resistencia al que Ucrania le ha invertido 11,000 millones de dólares, que es Pokrovsk, y esta región de Mirnorab, prácticamente está en el bolsillo ruso y están a nada de Kramatorsk y de Sloviansk, considerando que también en Kharkov ya se apoderaron de Kupiansk, Sergio. Entonces es muy complicado la posición maximalista europea.
Una posición complicada la de Europa. Enseguida